But it's the gangs who get the money, and experimenting kids get a criminal record. Prohibition just doesn't work.
Well, tonight, you decide. Here are the teams.
I'm on Duncan's team tonight, and if you vote for us, you can send New Zealand a clear message that drugs are harmful and communities won't tolerate them.
I'm on Duncan's team tonight, and we cannot afford to decriminalise drugs because shops and dairy owners are the new neighbourhood drug dealers.
I'm on Duncan's team tonight, and I think that we should not decriminalise soft drugs in this country, and the reason is that I work with young people and I see the damage that it does every day.
I'm on Guyan's team tonight. We should decriminalise drugs because fundamentally the drug problem is a health issue. The criminal justice system won't fix it.
I'm on Guyan's team tonight, and I think the point is to focus on drug harms. Alcohol kills 1,000 New Zealanders every year. That's 3 jumbo jets full. I couldn't even find a minibus full of people who die from cannabis.
I'm on Guyan's team tonight, and I'm a proud New Zealander, and that's because we always lead the way on social reform. Women got the vote first here. We've just legalised same-sex marriage, and now it's time to decriminalise soft drugs.
Good evening to you and welcome to the vote where we debate and you get to choose a winner.
Tonight's topic, let's decriminalise soft drugs. And by soft drugs we mean cannabis and the synthetic cannabis that you've been hearing so much about in the news of late.
That's right, you've seen the protests outside the dairies across the country and you've heard the tragic story. So my team says keep saying no to drugs.
But my team says yes to decriminalisation. You shouldn't have a police record or a criminal conviction just for having the odd puff of marijuana. The war on drugs has failed. It's got us nowhere.
All right, and overseeing tonight's hostilities, Linda Clark.
Thank you, gentlemen, and good evening, everyone. Picking up on Guyan's comments there, we want to be clear. Decriminalisation means that getting caught with a small amount of these drugs should not be a criminal offence. Instead, you'd get fined, like you would with a speeding ticket. It would still be illegal, however, to sell the drugs. And, of course, we want your vote on this. So, this is how it works. You hear the arguments for and against, then you decide a winner. Voting's easy. Text yes or no to 3920. The text will cost you just 20 cents. You can go to our website, thevote.co.nz, our Facebook page, The Vote NZ, or on Twitter, we're @TheVoteNZ. Just click yes or no.
And one new feature tonight, it's a bit of a beauty contest really. We'll be running this on Facebook where you can pick the team you like better, whether it's the handsome Team Guyan or the slightly more attractive Team Duncan.
No contest really, look, remember that your opinion on that may be different from your view on decriminalisation. So one vote on the topic, one vote for your favourite team.
But right now, let's get cracking with the affirmative team. First up, Mr. Espiner.
Thanks very much, Linda Clark. Well, Ross Bell, thanks for joining us tonight. There are 2 drugs really that are being debated tonight, cannabis and synthetic cannabis. And let's start with cannabis. Why should we decriminalise cannabis?
Well, we're getting honest here. We're saying that the current system hasn't worked. And in fact, it's been a complete failure, so it needs to be replaced with something new. So we're saying remove the criminal penalties, but replace it with something else. And that something else is investing in prevention, in treatment and in education.
All right, there's a lot of fear out there about synthetic cannabis. What are we saying about synthetic cannabis?
Well, the current situation is a complete farce. We've got it sold in our dairies and it is a complete free-for-all. So we need to get control over that stuff as well. Take it out of the dairies, get the industry to prove that their substance is low risk, and put controls in over any sales.
And these changes are coming, aren't they?
Well, Peter Dunn's bill can't come fast enough.
When we look at decriminalisation more generally, are New Zealanders Looney Tunes and way out for just looking at this, or is this something that's been tried around the world?
No, I have to say I think that the kind of things that we're arguing for have been proved overseas to work, and so let's learn from international examples. 30 countries have decriminalised, 17 United States have decriminalised, and people might not realise this, but Australia, just across the Tasman, have been doing this for 25 years.
And can I just, to finish, what do we spend on enforcing cannabis criminalisation?
So this is the ridiculousness of the situation. $116 million a year on police enforcement, $13 million to lock people up, and over 300,000 police hours on this thing. Imagine if that resource was invested in prevention, in education and in treatment.
All right, Ross Bell, very powerful start. Thank you very much.
Immensely. Immensely powerful. Right, decriminalisation. Why is this not the way to go, Mike, for our society and for our kids?
Well, look, Duncan, there's more drug availability now. The drugs are more potent than they've ever been. 1 in 5 New Zealanders already have experienced depression. We've got the highest youth suicide rates in the world. Cannabis now is a drug, unlike the 60s, it's about 30 times more potent than it used to be. I would say there is actually no worse time to even contemplate it, let alone do it.
Ross gave some woolly answer there about it working overseas. Tell us about Portugal. Has it worked there?
Well,
because people can run around with all sorts of drugs in their back pocket, can't they?
Yeah, it depends what sort of data you want to cherry pick. So if you look at Portugal as a really good example, 2001 they decriminalised drugs for up to 10 days personal use, all drugs. And so what we've seen in Portugal over that time is about a 66% increase in overall drug use. We've seen 66 in lifetime use prevalence.
And what they also conveniently left out is the moves that they've made in Portugal just in the past couple of weeks.
Well, they have, and considered the most liberal country in Europe, in fact in the world, but they have actually recognised the harms and the dangers of illegal highs and synthetic drugs, and that newspaper article, and for those that don't speak Portuguese, and I'm one of them, that says government bans sale of 159 drugs. So in the most liberal country in the world, they have moved to ban the shops selling that stuff.
We've seen what liberalising alcohol has done to New Zealand society in terms of our kids and so forth.
Sure.
What would adding another potent mix to the cup look like?
Well, I mean, the argument that, alcohol is such a disaster, you know, it's been a complete failure. Why would you then take a drug which is far more dangerous, and the synthetic highs, you throw that into that mix as well, and put it into the model that they argue is a complete failure? It just defies logic.
All right, Duncan, enough Patsy questions. Guy, on your chance to get some cross-examination.
Thanks, Linda. Mike Sabin, the Psychoactive Substances Bill provides for a regulated market for synthetic cannabis. If products can be shown to pose no more than a low risk, they can be sold legally. Do you support that bill?
I do support that bill, and the reason for that is psychoactive substances, so synthetic drugs, unlike cannabis sativa, which is a plant is a plant is a plant, the cat and mouse game that we see with synthetic drugs is that they can just change the molecular structure, and therefore what was illegal becomes legal.
So it is true, though, isn't it, that under this bill, if they can be shown to be safe, some synthetic drugs will be sold legally?
Well, look...
So you don't actually necessarily support the criminalisation of all synthetic drugs, do you?
No.
So
what I'm saying here, what I'm saying here, Duncan.
This is Duncan here, right here.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
What I'm saying,
I think you're a little bit confused about a couple of things.
Guy,
because
let him speak. I mean, you are interchangeable sometimes. It's understandable that he could be confused. Answer the question, Mike.
Yeah, Guy, no, look, what I'm saying here with psychoactive substances, so synthetic drugs, is you can change the molecular structure so you can beat the law. So if we look at the harm, so what this bill says, it turns the onus back onto the person producing it and says, well, if you can't produce it and it's of low risk or low harm, then you can't sell that product.
But it does mean that not all synthetic drugs will be criminal, doesn't it?
Well, that's right, but the issue is here, though, Guy, is the level of harm. And so what is safe for human consumption, I mean, you might consider going out and have a couple of cans of V or something instead, because that's the sort of place that it's going to land here.
And this is my final question, and I'll put it to you. Half of New Zealanders at some point in their lives have smoked cannabis. You are saying tonight that half of New Zealanders are criminals.
Well, laws are made for law-abiding citizens, okay? So the penalties are made for those who actually don't take any notice of that. And laws are very important, Guy, for setting some messages and saying there's a consequence for not accepting that message is important.
Thank you.
Duncan, your turn for a bit of cross-examination.
Ross Bell, I want to read you this statement. No drug use is the safest drug use. Do you agree with that?
That's taken from our website.
It is. Now, if that's the case, then why aren't you on our side?
What your side has just pointed out, a whole lot of inaccuracies in data, but they've also outlined...
Are these synthetic cannabis products safe?
Well, we don't know, and this is why we need Peter Dunn's law.
Do you think they're safe from all the research you've looked at?
I have to say, you didn't do so well under them, so probably not. So
but you wanted to criminalise something tonight that you don't know is safe.
So we want a system
of... That's what you're saying to this audience
what we're saying is that we want a system of control, and in fact I actually think that your team...
But before you look at controls, you have to work out whether it's safe or not. You're sitting here
smell the K2 on it. What you need is a system of control over these products. This is what Peter Dunn's bill brings in.
Okay, if you had an 18-year-old daughter, would you let her smoke synthetic cannabis?
No, what I would do...
Answer that question.
What I would want for my daughter when she grows up is a system that...
An 18-year-old's an adult.
Yeah.
Answer the question.
In her school, as a young kid, she is getting good, honest, factual drug information.
Would you let your 18-year-old daughter smoke it? Yes or no?
Through those... No,
yes or no?
No. What we are trying to do is create a system where my 18-year-old daughter grows up with good drug education.
Right. Thanks
and
for
if she
answering
gets
the
in
question.
trouble with drugs, that there is support.
You can't answer the question.
No, it's not.
You can't answer the question.
Thank you. I think we can judge whether he answered the question or not for ourselves without being harangued about it, Garner. That is time at the end of round one. And if you're ready to have your say, here's how. But after the break, how drugs are hurting small-town New Zealand. We hear from a former gang member and the legal highs industry who say they aren't killers. That's all in a moment.
Welcome to Kiwi Faves, home of the food we love to share. I'm here with Jason. What's your Kiwi fave?
These are Ruby's fish cakes.
Now you're not Ruby, obviously.
no, that's my mum. That's the recipe that she taught me, and she learnt from her mum. It's like 3 generations of fish cakes.
And does she know you're about to share it with the world? No.
No.
Does she watch TV?
Sometimes.
She may find out.
Sorry, mum.
Now the fun part, this is your granddad's
touch. I like a bit of single malt. We're going to up the ante of these fish cakes. Back in the day, they used to use these big butcher knives to blend the fish. Having this food processor, so it only takes like about 10 minutes. No hands.
Egg bomb.
Yeah, I like to use Molenberg. You can tell when they're ready when they have a nice gold colouring. And
do the Newman drizzle. Cheers.
Cheers.
It tastes really good, bro. I can taste all 3 generations worth of effort in there. Oh, that's Jason's Kiwi Fave. Why don't you jump online, check out a recipe and upload your favourite idea at kiwifaves.co.nz. You got scotch coming through with a little bit of a taste?
Quite a bit of the taste, actually.
Quite a bit of the taste,
yeah. These days, you hear a lot about carbon footprints, which is basically a measure of how wicked and selfish you are in respect to the environment. If you're a power company with a size 14 footprint, for example, you are very, very wicked. If you have a small one, you're very good. And Meridian have a very small footprint indeed, like this Action Man-sized boot. Whereas some power companies, well...
the synthetic cannabis argument, because that's...
And I'm going to say it's so bad that my community got up in arms. We approved what illegal high chemicals.
And these guys are killers. These guys are killers.
These guys are potential killers.
And you'll talk about your experience in the community?
They're going to talk about the sort of small town being ruined sort of stuff.
We're going to say it's happening anyway. You know, through the internet, you can pick it all you like.
And I'm going to be saying, well, you know, in 6 years of being an addiction psychiatrist, I've seen one person who's had significant problems with cannabis alone.
One person in how long?
In 6 years.
Welcome back to The Vote. That was a sneak peek into how the team spent the ad break marshalling their arguments. Now, before the show, we asked the audience here in Auckland in the theatre around me what they thought of decriminalising soft drugs. And remember, by that we mean cannabis and synthetic cannabis. And the answers? Well, interesting. Yes, 55%. No, 26%. And undecided, 19%. We will go back to the audience before the end of the program to see if any of these arguments sway them. Now, Mr. Espiner, introduce us to your speaker number 2.
Thank you very much, Linda. Well, Jeremy, you are an addiction specialist. How many people do you see for cannabis use?
Well, Guyan, half of all New Zealanders have smoked cannabis. 80% of all New Zealanders under 25 have smoked cannabis. And yet I would have seen one person in 6 years who presented to me with a cannabis addiction.
One person?
One person. Now compare that to the daily alcohol addiction that I see, the people who are stuck with harder drugs. It doesn't even fall in the same ballpark.
And what, in your view, would be the impact of decriminalisation?
I think decriminalisation would reduce the fact that when these people do come to me, when I see people who have used cannabis in addition to the other drugs, they won't get a criminal history for it. And that's the thing that holds back their recovery. It's really difficult to get on with your life if you've got a criminal record. There's no benefit to that. There's no therapeutic benefit to seeing a policeman for your cannabis use. Maybe me, but not a policeman.
You make a good point, and the $100 million that Ross Bell talked about that's being spent on enforcing criminalisation of cannabis, how far would that go to do the sort of work you're trying to do in treatment?
That's about as much as we spend on the healthcare of all drug addiction for this country.
100 million.
100 million. So, and we only touch about half of the level of need for the harder drugs. So if we had that, we'd be laughing.
In your view, is the prohibition of cannabis what has led to this synthetic market anyway?
What we see is if you make it illegal for people to give a positive cannabis sample, they'll go to something that's legal no matter how harmful it is for you.
Increases harm. Fascinating. Very, very powerful contribution, Duncan. Thank you.
All right, Janie, how dangerous is this synthetic cannabis in your town of Timaru? Tell me, some of the stories that you've seen as the town's mayor.
Well, look, it's so bad that our community have done something about it, and they say that evil only flourishes when good men and women do nothing. Well, we have done something about it, and we've managed, we believe now that our dairies are not selling it, but the damage that it has done, I mean, we've had kids with heart attacks being found unconscious in parks, families ripped apart. I mean, you just talk to any accident emergency around New Zealand, they're talking about psychosis, they're talking about acute agitation, they're talking about hallucinations, and as I mentioned, the heart attacks and also potential kidney damage. So we have seen it, and we have seen primary school kids do it.
Do you trust this man, and do you trust the industry to follow the law and to get it right?
Oh, my God. The legal high industry are the parasites. They are sucking our young people's potential, the future, and they're sucking New Zealand's future. They're using our kids as guinea pigs. They take no action on bad practice. For example, on our stings, we've found dairies selling to 14, 15-year-olds. And, they don't even put the ingredients on the packet. And overnight, they replace them with some new product.
Guyon.
And they haven't got a clue.
Time for a bit of cross-examination, I think.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Duncan, and thank you, Janie, for appearing tonight. I know you've got some genuine concerns about these drugs. Do you accept that it is the prohibition of cannabis that has allowed these guys to come on the market with the synthetic cannabis?
No, I don't accept that at all. I think these guys, as I said, will sell their grandmothers, and even if the bill goes through, they will find a way around it. I mean, I've heard of where they've, no, don't interrupt me, I've heard where they've actually put it in bath salts so they could get around the regulations.
Put it in bath salts?
Bath salts, and even plant food.
Shocking.
Have you got any evidence for that?
I'll give you a really good example.
Have you got any evidence of that?
I've read some evidence in
Where's
England,
it from?
In England.
Right, so someone had a bath in England, which is quite rare anyway, as I understand. We've got a clip in because it reminds me a little bit of what we've seen about reefer madness. Can we play this clip?
You want to kill me? You're crazy. It is convinced that he is hopelessly and incurably insane, a condition caused by the drug marijuana to which he was addicted. It is recommended, Your Honor, that the defendant be placed in an institution for the criminally insane for the rest of his natural life.
Look, my point is, a bit of humour there, but my point is, I mean, that was 1935. I mean, and they have been arguing about that since then. I mean, every generation has its moral panic about this. My question to you is, how many people have had problems, I want a number, with synthetic cannabis? How many? What's the evidence?
Well, that's a really good question, because, of course, you don't get exact numbers, because I know through our youth workers that there have been young people who have, as young as 11, 12, 13, 14, they've stopped breathing, their friends have resuscitated them, and you know what? They didn't even seek medical help.
Okay, I know you feel strongly about it.
That's why you can't get exact figures, but if you actually did a survey of all the DHBs in New Zealand...
So are you basing all this emotional
shocked.
fear on no figures at all?
Oh, what?
I'll give you some numbers here. 1,000 people a year die of alcohol. How many people, how many deaths have we had in New Zealand on synthetic cannabis?
Look,
how many? This is a simple question, and I know that you know the answer.
I'll tell you how many.
Yeah. None.
It is an absolute miracle that no one has died.
So the actual answer...
My
The actual
kids...
answer. Okay, could I have the answer in one word? Here's a little
I'm
test
not
for
going
you.
to give you the answer in one word
the-
because my kids
Well, you could, because it's
have
zero.
almost died.
Duncan,
I thought you did very well.
time for a little cross-examination of the
I was
other
just waiting
team.
for some stats out of him on
I was waiting for them from your guest.
Jeremy, Leo Shep from the National Poison Centre, you would have heard of him. He says that when something is banned, they get fewer calls to investigate. So is it not simple if something is banned that it largely works?
No, it's that people don't tell you about it. And that's the problem. They don't just not tell you about it, they go to something that they can get hold of that is legal, but maybe more dangerous.
Do you think synthetic cannabis is safe?
It's not.
Some forms of
synthetic
you're going to say it's not?
Some forms of synthetic cannabis aren't safe.
You think it's harmful, do you?
They may well be. Some forms may well be.
Do you think it could kill somebody one day?
Well, I haven't seen it.
No, do you think it could, though, as an expert around addictions?
Paracetamol can kill.
That's right. So
it's a reasonably safe product.
So do you think synthetic cannabis could? Do you think synthetic cannabis could kill one day?
Everything can kill you.
Does it concern you, with this synthetic cannabis, that there's nothing on here with the ingredients on it? It just looks like chewing gum.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree.
But where are the
It is a problem.
ingredients?
It is a problem. There's nothing
It is a
on
problem,
that.
isn't it?
And that's going to change with psychoactive substances.
Yes.
Bill.
So you agree that this could kill you?
No,
You don't think it could kill you?
I've never taken Juicy Puff. I don't know.
Which is, have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't.
You tried cannabis?
This is not about what I've used.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
An answer worthy of a politician. Mr. Espiner, introduce us to your third speaker, please.
All right, well, Grant Hall, thank you very much for coming in. Now, our opponents will claim that you want synthetic cannabis sold to everyone. Is that true?
Absolutely not. What we want is we want strict controls, and that's why we support this new bill coming out in August.
This is the bill that Mike Sabin and others support.
Yeah.
So what effectively does that do?
What'll be different is that there'll be packaging with contents, obviously, there'll be guidelines given, and of course there'll be peace of mind.
Why don't you do that now?
Yeah, why not?
Peace of mind for the public, the police and the politicians around these products. Because let's face it, Kiwis love cannabis, Guyon. We're one of the highest consumers of cannabis in the world, synthetic and natural. I think Australia comes a close second. And yet by any measure, scientific evidence that we've heard this evening, we know that cannabis is one of the least harmful recreational social tonics in the world. There's been 0 deaths from synthetic or natural cannabis ever in recorded history. I mean, you know, if that's not low risk, what is low risk? And that's what this bill says. It says if you can prove low risk, then you can license that product and retail it to consumers. We don't want to see it in dairies. We don't want to see 18-year-olds. I'd like to see 20-year-olds getting it in a licensed premise so that it's safe and done properly and that they have alternatives to dangerous, high-risk drugs like alcohol and tobacco that kill thousands of Kiwis every year.
Why are you selling it to dairies?
We're not.
OK, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Ghana.
Wayne, thanks very much for coming along tonight. You work on the street. You see some of the harm that both cannabis and synthetics does. First of all, they're trying to say that cannabis has absolutely no harm, a social tonic. I think what Grant described it as. Is that your experience in Porirua and on the streets of Wellington?
Oh, look, definitely not. The young people that I work with and I see on a daily basis, wherever they are, cannabis is present. And I mean, if you're talking about low harm, what is memory loss, what is they're unresponsive. I mean, you know, they've become violent in respect to wanting more. It's been a contributing factor in respect to young people committing crime. And it's also been, I mean, you know, parenthood, and where young families and young teenagers are bringing up children, you know, they're prioritising cannabis as opposed to the needs of the child.
So they keep saying it's some sort of harmless social tonic. Grant here, the face of the industry, says it's low risk and harmless. That's the sort of picture they're painting. That would mean that you're out of a job then, wouldn't it, in Porirua? You wouldn't have anything to do.
Oh, definitely, and I think, you know, synthetic cannabis as well as cannabis, they're trying to paint a picture that it's a ham and cheese combo, but they fail to tell you that the outcome is food poisoning.
You're a former gang member as well and clearly have been involved in some of this activity in the past. Is it a gateway drug or not?
Look, predominantly a lot of the people that I've dealt with that into hard drugs started somewhere. And when they started somewhere, you know, cannabis was a starter for 10. We've now got synthetic cannabis that's part of that also now, and so there's a higher high when you take synthetic cannabis. That's the understanding that I'm receiving from young people. So basically, for me, it's very, very dangerous, and I think that methamphetamine dealers out there will be rubbing their hands in glee at the prospect of new customers.
Hugely credible, Wayne. Voice of the people. Thank you very much.
thanks, Wayne, for coming along, and thanks for the good work that you're doing in the community. Do you think that the focus of drug law should be on the most harmful drugs?
I don't think so. I think it should be on all drugs.
So it doesn't matter how harmful they are, we should attack them all equally? That doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, I think there should be different levels pertaining to different drugs, and the reason being is because, like you said, there is a gateway, and cannabis is a starter, so it leading on to bigger things.
So a young person who smokes cannabis should be made a criminal out of?
A young person that smokes cannabis needs assistance. That's what a young person needs.
Yes, but they get
the law
assistance.
tells us, the key messaging from the law tells us that you are breaking the law, that is wrong.
Yes, but do you
So
think
are we going to listen to the values and beliefs in respect to the legislation? Are we going to do that? Or are we going to promote that to young people? What are we going to do, Guy?
If 80%, Wayne, of youngsters have smoked cannabis, are they listening to this ethereal message that you're somehow sending? Because it doesn't sound like they're listening at all.
No, they're not listening at all. And
so your system has failed. Prohibition has failed.
No, you've got me wrong. You've got me wrong. You've got me wrong. They're not listening because what our young people are struggling to learn, that the youth at risk that I'm working with, they're struggling to learn, they're struggling to engage because they have they've taken on this cannabis and they've smoked it. And what it's done, what I really hate about cannabis with young people is not only the effects that it does, but it diminishes the spirit of young people and kills off their potential in order for them to translate their passion into performance and what it is that they want to be in life. That's what happens.
Why do you not tell us what's in these synthetic cannabis products that you peddle around New Zealand? Nothing on here to say what's in it. What's in it?
Yeah, look, I don't peddle synthetic cannabis products, but I will defend someone's right to have access to a safe alternative. I couldn't tell you. You're the one who smoked it. You tell me.
No, well, I can't tell you, you see. Yeah. Silly question to me.
Not really.
I can't tell what's in it.
Yeah, and you know what? Under the new regime... But why doesn't the industry...
Yeah, no, but if you're so worried, why don't you tell people now?
Well, look, it's a cannabinoid. We know that. What kind of cannabinoid doesn't matter. It could be any kind. The point is this, is we need control so the public do know what they're getting. They get good advice when they buy the product, and we don't see these products in dairies.
Is it safe?
We don't want to see that.
Is it safe?
It's low risk.
Is it safe?
It's not safe. It's low risk.
It's not safe?
It's low risk.
Just say, repeat, sorry, it's not safe.
It's not safe. It's low risk.
Okay.
And low risk means that it's acceptable when given with good advice and... Are you going to roll up a joint, are you?
I've rolled it,
I knew you were a good roller. I could see by the way you did it on TV the other day.
Yeah, exactly. So would you smoke this for us here? I've got the...
Is this a smoke-free environment, Linda? Am I allowed to? Look, I'll smoke it with you after the show.
No, what about now?
I'd like to smoke it with you after the show.
Smoke it now to prove to New Zealand it's safe.
No, I'll tell you why. I will smoke it with you, and I'll smoke it with you on your show tomorrow. But listen to me, Duncan.
No, smoke it now to show to New Zealand it's safe. It's a really crucial. Do you want to smoke it?
I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Yes. Do you want to smoke it?
Hey, you know what? Duncan, if this is the best stunt you can come up with, mate, you've lost this debate, all right?
You want to smoke it?
Smoke
it. All right, smoke it. You're allowed to, why won't you smoke it?
I have sovereignty over my body, right? I don't smoke tobacco either.
So do you not trust it? Do you trust it?
I'm trusting it to smoke it, but I'd rather smoke it recreationally with you on your radio show tomorrow. Later.
Very interesting there. Of course, we know that Duncan has smoked the synthetic cannabis product because he videoed it and he smoked it a couple of hours before he went on his radio show, which either shows that the drug didn't do much at all or that you can be sconned off your noggin and still do a radio live drive program. I'm not sure which one of those it is.
Now, still to come, your questions, a live update on voting, and we'll hear chronic king turned rock star Matt Bowden's plans to produce a new range of drugs. We're back in a moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay, bye. Audition? Yeah. Get in. Okay, 15 minutes. Where am I going to wear?
Okay, we're going to get you there on time.
All right. Floral or yellow?
Yellow? Yeah. Okay. Cute guy. He's gone. It's fine. I know a shortcut.
All right. I'm almost done.
We're going to make it.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay, imagine you've been for a run.
New Libra Get Fresh Wipes. Freshen up when you haven't got time to freshen up. Live Libra, love Libra.
Meridian generates their energy from renewable sources, like hydro and wind. The good news is you can join Meridian from here in Fiordland to north of Auckland by visiting meridian.co.nz. They're creating a better energy future.
What do you have to do to get a drink around here? Well, a lot, actually. This is a dry county, which means you can't buy it. You'll have to make it yourself. And here that means doing a lot of extra things. Things that are considered too difficult or costly in other places. Lynchburg, Tennessee. It's a hard place to get a drink of whiskey. But it's the only place to make Jack Daniels.
Weird things that are just patently wrong. You know? I mean, I've talked to the doctors in the DHBs, and they aren't seeing any of that stuff. We don't admit people for addiction to synthetics. That's just not true.
Because she's being hysterical.
You're going to talk about Gateway, how this leads to...
Yep, if it's legal, they'll think it's normal.
That's right, and alcohol, because these guys are focused on alcohol. 1,000 deaths on alcohol, none on this stuff.
If 85% of the population was smoking K2 or P or stuff, then you'd see a lot of deaths.
That's really important, so you've got to rip into them on that.
This is the vote, and those were the team huddles during the ad break. Now, don't forget to vote by texting yes or no to 3920 or going to our website, Facebook or Twitter. On Facebook, of course, there's also that chance to vote for your favourite team.
Yeah. All right, so what I want to ask you, if you could allow your 18-year-old son or daughter to smoke synthetic cannabis, would you? I want a yes or no. If they had the chance to smoke synthetic cannabis, would you say yes or no? I want you to vote on that, please.
All right, everyone, so take your clickers and vote on that as well, and we will have the answer to that shortly. But now, the rebuttal. So tell me how I make sense of what you told us earlier, which is that you haven't seen anybody with a problem, with an addiction problem in this area, and what I hear from the Mayor of Timaru, who basically is describing the apocalypse.
Yeah, well, she's making that up. Because I know those DHB doctors. I've spoken to those doctors.
Yes, come on.
I work with those doctors.
This is crap. I've been speaking to people whose sons and daughters have been in mental asylums for 3 weeks after ODing on synthetic cannabis.
Well,
and you know that's the truth.
Well, I haven't. It is not the truth. It's true. Any of those people. I don't know what's happening in Timaru. I don't know why it's happening in Timaru.
New Zealand youth, 2/3 of New Zealand youth, 15 and under, who are seeking treatment for drug substance abuse problems, are receiving it for cannabis. And the reality is the chemical nature of a drug will never be altered by its legal status. And you say the issues with alcohol...
It won't stop young people using it.
85% of the population use alcohol. 85% of the population use alcohol. It stands to reason there will be many deaths and many associated problems. If 85% of the population was smoking K2 or smoking cannabis...
Which they may be.
Well, they're not. But if they were, because the reality is we have laws... Then you perceive higher risk and you have less users. Take the laws away, you see more problems. And Amsterdam is a good example of that, Ross.
The system that you support has been around for 40 plus years and it has been a complete failure.
It doesn't work.
Drug use before the conventions on narcotic drugs was far higher than it is today.
Right, give them a chance.
No, look, 80% of people aged 25 have tried cannabis. The harms that you talked about before exist under your system. How can you defend that system? How can you defend a system that puts all its money into trying to enforce this problem away and none of its money into trying to prevent the problem and reducing the demand for this?
If you say the laws haven't worked. If you say the laws haven't worked, well, we haven't stopped theft either. Should we decriminalise theft because we still have theft in society?
That's not the debate.
Well, I mean, it's the same. It's exactly the same reason. Laws are there to provide boundaries.
So 80%
and consequences.
of New Zealanders have been thieves, have they? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they probably have.
Really?
I don't know.
Hang on. This is important because you're a policeman and now you're an MP. Are you saying tonight, mate, that 80% of New Zealanders are thieves? Because that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
You used to be a political journalist. You used to putting words in the politician's mouth.
You gave the words. Well, I throw that right away because
can I just interrupt? Because I want to put a question to Wayne.
Thank you.
Because you were very affecting before when you spoke on the subject, but I want to know how you think criminalising or giving a criminal record to the young Māori that you're working with is going to help them.
A lot of our people that go through that stage and do get criminal records, it's hard for them. You know, it's hard for them, it's hard for employment. They have to do things twice as hard and they have to be the best as they can be. But what I'm talking about in respect to this is we can no longer operate within the parameters of the law if this gets decriminalised, and then we have to rely on the moral compass of young people whose brain cells have been shot. So around in respect to what it is preserving the learning environment.
Instead into prevention, into helping these people. Young Māori men are 4 times more likely to get a conviction that impacts on their education, their employment, their travel. How can that be a good thing in your community? It astounds me that you would support that system because it's your community that is at the greatest harm of our drug law.
Can we talk about gateway drugs? Because I'd like to challenge the legal high industry. Last year they brought out a product and it was white powder, and guess what you did with it? You sniffed it, and guess what its name was? Cocaine. They sell hookah pipes. They sell hookah pipes and they offer hashish heaven. And
shocking.
And Grant,
they sell posters of Bob Marley as well.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say
Can we arrest them tonight?
All I can say is,
well, let's hear from
that is not leading people down the path to drug addiction. I don't know what it's... And look, can I just challenge you on one thing?
Just give him a chance to answer one challenge at a time. Grant, let's hear from you.
Why is cannabis so popular in Timaru? Maybe because they've got a meal like this. I don't know. Listen to me. No, listen to me.
Hey, it's more popular in Timaru than it is all around
Listen, you've got to get your rhetoric out of the 1980s. Contemporary drug use in modern society involves a distribution network that's called the internet. All these things are available right now. We need to regulate so there's control and then educate. That's the only way that's going to work.
And also the big businessmen who are making hundreds of millions of dollars that you're representing.
Hey, look, do you want to hand it over to organised crime? Hand it over to organised crime because it ain't going to go away. Hey, listen. They don't pay, organised crime networks, they're not going to check ID, they don't pay taxes, they're not going to give harm minimisation advice. Is that what you want? Because that's what you're going to have in Timaru.
Grant, tell me, do you accept that natural, 100% cannabis is a safer product than the stuff you're peddling?
Yes, I do.
So there should be a distinction between how they're classified?
Look, the argument tonight is about decriminalisation, but I'll tell you this. If you wanted to get rid of synthetic cannabis, the best way is to decriminalise natural cannabis. Listen, how big a synthetic cannabis problem do they have in California? None. What about Colorado? None. What about Washington? None. You know why? Because they decriminalised.
And so what would you do? You would change your business model, would you?
Sorry?
You would change your business model and start peddling
synthetic cannabis is the focus of the media. It's not the whole business of the legal high industry. There's a huge range of products. We're focusing on one tonight. And I'm saying that should be low risk and available to people that are consenting adults.
But you also accept that your product is more dangerous than ordinary cannabis.
But it's still low risk.
But it is more dangerous.
Correct.
Okay,
and they keep using it.
We are going to take a break, people. But we haven't forgotten about Duncan's question to the audience. We will have the result of that when we come back in a moment. And to you at home, please keep voting yes or no on decriminalisation. We will be back very soon.
Yeah, sure. Okay, bye. Audition? Yeah. Get in. Okay, 15 minutes. What are we going to wear?
Okay, we're going to get you there on time.
All right. Floral or yellow?
Yellow? Yeah. Okay. Cute guy. He's gone. It's fine. I know a shortcut.
All right. I'm almost done.
I'm going to make it.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay, imagine you've been for a run.
New Libra Get Fresh wipes. Freshen up when you haven't got time to freshen up. Live Libra, love Libra.
It was in a shop on this spot in Arrowtown that Joe Heller first started perfecting Heller's bacon back in the 1880s. And I'm here where it all started. See how this Heller's Old Smoky traditional bacon stacks up today.
That is so good.
This is Heller's Old Smoky traditional streaky bacon. First started down the road.
And the old butcher shop just down here. I could sit there and eat that all day, mate.
Heller's new streaky bacon range, including Old Smoky, new paprika and cumin, and rosemary and juniper. Heller's, perfecting the taste of their bacon since 1880. Funny that.
What do you have to do to get a drink around here? Well, a lot, actually. This is a dry county, which means you can't buy it. You'll have to make it yourself. And here that means doing a lot of extra things. Things that are considered too difficult or costly in other places. Lynchburg, Tennessee. It's a hard place to get a drink of whiskey, but it's the only place to make Jack Daniels.
All right, welcome back. You're watching The Vote. Tonight's debate, let's decriminalise soft drugs.
And this is live at TV3. Let's see whether we can get an idea of how the vote is going tonight.
G'day guys. Look, hey, good news, heavy voting tonight. It's getting closer at the moment, but there is a runaway winner at the moment. At the moment, I'm just going to tell you which one though. Trending #1 on Twitter, lots of talk there about prohibition, but we're going to keep counting. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks very much for that. It's still time to have your say, but let's go back now to Linda Clark.
To have you with us. We'll go back live to TV3 for the results soon, but Duncan asked earlier whether our audience members would be happy for their adult children to be trying cannabis or synthetics, and they came back saying yes, 47%, no, 44%, and undecided 9%. Quite a different result to the vote earlier on decriminalisation. You've only got a minute or two left to vote, so text 3920 for 20 cents. Go to our website, thevote.co.nz, our Facebook page, The Vote NZ, or our Twitter feed at The Vote NZ. But now, final words, 30 seconds each, starting with you, Mr. Espiner.
All right, thanks very much, Linda. What we're arguing tonight is that not that cannabis or synthetic cannabis doesn't do any harm. We have argued that it can do harm, that we have to treat it not as a criminal issue, but as a health and education issue. If you look at the United States of America, about 17 states in America have taken this approach, decriminalisation. It is not a free-for-all. It just means we grab control back from the gangs and treat it as health and education and not a criminal issue.
All right, over to you, Mr. Garner.
What our team is arguing that now is not the time to send some sort of woolly-woofter message to the community that it is okay for kids to go to school with cannabis in their back pocket. Already you are seeing 12 and 13-year-olds smoking synthetic cannabis because they are told it's okay. It is legal in New Zealand right now, and they've picked it up and they're smoking it. If you can see some of the pictures behind me of young 12 and 13-year-olds doing this. So we say now is not the time to send mixed and confusing messages to young New Zealanders that they can head out there and smoke cannabis and everything is going to be okay. We say vote no. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, both Guyon and Duncan. Thanks to the teams. Voting is now closed. We will be back at TV3 live shortly with a winner and a loser. First, let me say, I think it's fair to say here in the audience, or here in Auckland, the audience was very much on your side, Guyon, this evening. But if there was a star tonight, someone whose performance was really arresting and affecting, and proof that sometimes the quietest voice speaks the loudest, I think Wayne gets my vote this evening. But what difference did any of that make to the opinions of those here in the theatre? Before the debate, 55% voted in favour, 26% said no, and 19% were undecided. Now, after all has been said and done and debated, audience, let's vote again. Press 1 for yes, we should decriminalise. Press 2 for no, we should not. And press 3 if you're still not sure. And how did the people here vote? Well, yes, 70%, no, 27%, and the undecided slid right down to 3%. So, Guyon, you won over those undecideds. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, but that's only the vote here in the theatre. It's certainly not over as far as I can see, so let's wait and see what the thousands at home say.
Absolutely. We'll be live at TV3 with that result, plus the godfather of legal highs, Matt Bowden, also known as Starboy, and the man behind the latest drug laws, Peter Dunn. Back in a moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay, bye.
Audition?
Yeah.
Get in.
Okay, 15 minutes. What am I going to wear?
Okay, we're going to get you there on time.
All right. Floral or yellow?
Yellow? Yeah. Cute guy. He's gone, it's fine. I know a shortcut.
All right. I'm almost done.
We're going to make it.
Thank you. Mwah. See ya.
Okay, imagine you've been for a run.
New Libra Get Fresh wipes. Freshen up when you haven't got time to freshen up. Live Libra, love Libra.
Get up, get out of your bed now. Wasting your time. The Gold Coast is famous for fun. It's where kids still build sandcastles. Catching up with friends can be an adventure. Mum actually enjoys going to the park with the kids. Really fit dudes run with surfboards under their arm. Guys wear shorts, girls wear bikinis. Active people explore the wildlife or the nightlife, and everyone has fun. So Kiwis, to find your kind of fun, check out visitgoldcoast.co.nz.
What do you have to do to get a drink around here? Well, a lot, actually. This is a dry county, which means you can't buy it. You'll have to make it yourself. And here that means doing a lot of extra things. Things that are considered too difficult or costly in other places. Lynchburg, Tennessee. It's a hard place to get a drink of whiskey. But it's the only place to make Jack Daniels.
All right, welcome back to The Vote, and we are now live. And this is the bit where we get to tell you how you voted as a country. You've heard a lot from me and Duncan tonight. You've heard from the experts. You've heard from the teams. But how did you vote? Well, what we did ask you to do was ask which of the teams, which was your favourite team. That was the first thing we asked you to do on Facebook, and I think we have that number on your screen there. And in my favour, 78%. Duncan's team, just 22%.
So this is the popularity contest. This is whether you liked our team or not, effectively, isn't it? This is not the result on whether or not we should decriminalise soft drugs, right?
No, that's right. Although, mate, I'd have to say it's not looking terribly good for you.
It's not good, isn't it? Right, so it's not looking good, I tell you that. Thanks very much, New Zealand. So what we've got here, of course, let's remind ourselves of the moot. Let's decriminalise soft drugs. So let's get these the numbers tonight on Facebook. This is how you voted. 23% to 77 in Guyan's favour.
All right, what about Twitter tonight? What are they saying on the birds? 68 in my favour, 32 for Duncan.
All right, the 3 News website, 28-72, again for decriminalisation in Guyan's favour.
All right, and on the text messaging tonight, again, it's a similar sort of thing there, isn't it? Almost 3/4 in my favour. What is the final result? What does it look like?
Here's the final result. This is the first time we've all seen this tonight, obviously, and there it is, 72-28, which mirrors effectively what you saw in the theatre tonight as well, which is absolutely fascinating. We spoke a little bit earlier to Matt Bowden, who is, of course, the head of the synthetic cannabis industry. He's the face of the industry, I suppose, and here is his reaction.
For 50 years or even longer, we've tried to control drug use and make the world a safer place by banning. It didn't work with alcohol, hasn't worked with anything else. We actually do need to try some different solutions. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm setting up a new type of pharmaceutical company where we're going to be creating drug alternatives to draw people away from the more dangerous drugs like your methamphetamine, your alcohol, your heroin, the drugs which kill and are addictive. We're going to look to develop safer drug alternatives which are non-addictive, won't kill people, don't cause brain damage, put them through proper safety testing, and then the money that comes into that pharmaceutical company will go into rehabs, into further research, and into further restoration technologies to help people that have fried their brain a little bit on alcohol or the other dangerous drugs to help them get their heads back together.
All right, that is Matt Bowden from the synthetic cannabis industry. Right, to look at some of these results tonight, we are joined by Associate Health Minister Peter Dunn. And Peter Dunn, it is an overwhelming result tonight in favour of decriminalising. When are you going to do it?
Well, I think you've got to put that into perspective. I'm not altogether surprised by the result, Duncan. I think part of it's a reaction to the synthetic cannabis debate we're having at the moment. The reality is that if you were to go down the path that a number of the advocates proposed of using the psychoactive substances regime for testing cannabis, cannabis would have to cross the same high bar that we're going to propose for psychoactive substances.
But this is a vote tonight to decriminalise cannabis, in my opinion, probably in both our opinion. This is a vote tonight to decriminalise cannabis, isn't it?
Well, the government's not planning any change in the legal status of cannabis. Our focus is fundamentally at the moment on passing the Psychoactive Substances Bill as soon as we can, getting that to work, getting the dangerous psychoactive substances that everyone's agreed about tonight are dangerous off the shelves and out of the way.
Okay, can we just get this straight from you, Peter Dunn? Are you ruling out absolutely any look at decriminalising cannabis, any legal change in the status of that drug?
That's not on the government's agenda.
So you're ignoring these people tonight, you're saying, no, sorry, you've had your say, but we don't agree.
No, I'm simply saying that the government has no intention to change the legal status of cannabis. We are certainly focused at the moment on getting the Psychoactive Substances Bill into place as quickly as possible, because I think once that is in place and these substances have been removed from the dairies and the local shops, I think a lot of the concern will dissipate. There'll always be the pro-cannabis lobby. They've been around for a long time in roughly those proportions, but beyond the psychoactive substances debate, I don't think a great deal else has changed.
All right, Peter Dunn, thank you very much. That's pretty much all we've got time for, but thanks for joining us, and thank you at home very much for watching. We really appreciate that.